Uh, Good morning and welcome back to the class of user interface design. In today's class we'll start with design standards or style guides. So first let us understand what is a design standard, or you can call it as a style guide also. Both are same. A design standard or style guide documents an agreed upon way of doing something. Okay, it is basically it's a document which is agreed upon way of doing something. Means it's basically an agreement between, you can call it as an agreement between the user and the developer. Okay, in interface design it describes the appearance and behavior of the interface, and it provides some guidance on the proper use of the system components. Basically, in user interface design process, it describes the appearance, how exactly the screen will appear, how exactly the icons will appear, how exactly and position also. Okay, not only appearance. Okay, and behavior of the interface. So if I click on something, what will happen? So it also apart from this, it also, this design standard or style guide also provides it guides on the proper use of the system components. Suppose if I don't know how to use the system and I'm trying to use it in a wrong way, definitely I'll get some error. So since I don't know how to use it, but I should not blame the system at all. So by using the design standards, I also understand how to properly use the system components. It also defines the interface standards, rules, guidelines, and the traditional conventions that must be followed in detailed design. Okay. So it also defines, this design standards also defines the interface standards, rules, guidelines. So for example, if you want to construct a house or a building, so again for that also there are some standards where the builders have to follow. For example, you can see here I just typed standard for construction and I got so many construction standards developed by ASTM. So this ASTM is nothing but it is formerly known as American Society for Testing and Materials. Okay, American Standard for Testing and Materials. You can see there are so many standards here. Adhesive standards, building standards, cement standards and concrete standards, roofing standards. So for everything there are some certain set of standards where the builders have to use. Similarly, in user interface design also there are certain standards, rules and guidelines which every one of us have to follow. Then what are the value of these standards and guidelines? Developing and applying design standards or guidelines achieves design consistency. So if you don't use these standards, you come up with so many random things, okay, where the user will definitely feel difficulty in using the system. So what are the advantages or uses of using these standards? Allow faster performance, reduce errors, reduce training time, foster better system utilization, improve satisfaction, improve system acceptance. These are some of the advantages of using the standards and guidelines. They are valuable to system developers because they increase visibility of the human computer interface. Okay, it makes the things more clearer to everyone, including the users also. It simplifies the design. It provides more programming and design aids, okay, reducing programming time, since the user doesn't have to worry much because the standards are available. He just have to follow those document where standards are written. Reduce redundant effort, means he doesn't have to worry, he doesn't have to put the same efforts for designing different websites or different applications. It reduces the training time. Okay, provide a benchmark for quality control testing. So these are some of the advantages of using standards and guidelines the developers will achieve. So next one is business system interface standards and guidelines. Till 1970s or 80s there were no particular standards. Every developer used to set his own standards and develop the applications, but suddenly after 1980s everyone started coming up with their own standards. Earlier they were internal to their own organizations, then they made it public. For example, IBM, it released its own standards in 1987, Sun Microsystems 1990, Apple Computers 1992, then Microsoft also in 1992. Concurrently, government and trade organizations also began working on developing interface guidelines and standards. So, for example, I'll show you some of. So these are Indian government's guideline for Indian government websites. It is not for public. These are some guidelines for Indian government websites. You can clearly see the guidelines over here. What kind of tools and resources the developers have to use, and what tips and tricks. Then FAQs, for example, some of the validation tools the developers can use is HTML, CSS, broken links, access. So when you click on more, you will get validation tools. So even you can see the references over here. You can just follow these references. Accessibility, then they have given some mobile friendliness, assistive technologies, screen reader access. You can see so many things they have displayed here. Similarly, so there are some certain guidelines for the websites. So given below is a checklist of mandatory guidelines outlined in this document. Departments may use this checklist to validate their websites against these guidelines and make necessary modifications to ensure compliance. So these are the strict guidelines every department, government department, has to follow when they come up with their own websites. Then they have to validate these checklists. The information provided in this checklist. So you can see this is a checklist. The first one is the first guideline is department has nominated a web information manager as defined in the guidelines. It has been the second guideline is it has been ensured that all stationery of the department as well as the advertisement public messages issued by the concerned department prominently display the URL of the website. The third guideline is website has the following clearly defined policies and plans approved by the web information manager. First one is copyright files policy, content constraints. There are so many guidelines they have listed here. Then the next one is accessibility guidelines. There are so many. Then mobile apps. So general guidelines for the mobile apps is clear instructions on using the app have been provided. So reference number also they have. Then I have also gone through some of the website guidelines provided by the United Nations. So building the UN websites. So what we do, so they have given here. So they have given the style guide. So you can see here, this is how they have given. So what is the font family? Roboto on sans serif. So if anyone is planning to develop a website for United Nations, then they have to follow this font, that is Roboto or sans serif. Then what is a heading? So HTML heading. So there is a clear cut guidelines for each and every activity. You could see here what kind of color scheme, what kind of language bar, what kind of logo you should use. So everything is they have given. So these are some of the guidelines. So that is what we are discussing here now. Then there are some international organizations such as International Standards Organization, we call it as ISO. Then ANSI, that is American National Standard Institute. Then Human Factors and Ergonomics Society. All of them have come up with their own guidelines. However, many times we may not follow these rules. Maybe some of the reasons may be an alternative design solution was better than that mandated by the standard. So we found alternative design solution is much better than what is suggested by the guideline. Available development tools did not allow compliance with the standard. Okay, so whatever tools I have, using those tools I cannot satisfy all those guidelines suggested by those website. Compliance with the standard was planned, but time was not yet available to implement it. Earlier we planned to compliance with the standard, but unfortunately we could not able to achieve that because of lack of time. The rule that was broken was not known, or it was overlooked. I was not knowing about those guidelines, so because of that I just missed them. So so in the next class we will study about web guidelines and style guides. Thank you.